Right, what we have here today is the Shirogorov Russian Hokkaido, inspired from, actually the design taken from John Barker's Hokkaido. This is a collaboration between the two makers. Now at first glance, this knife looks quite hefty. However, when we compare it to other knives the Shirogorov has made, for example, let's see, an F95 size knife and a neon size knife, you can see that the knife itself is not that much bigger than an F95. However, I think that the height of the blade and the handle relative to the 95 kind of contributes to that hefty look. Now the blade itself is stated as 95 millimeters, as the F95 is. However, I feel like in actuality this is closer to around 4 inches of actual cutting length. Now the knife itself weighs quite a considerable amount. Let's see what we have here. Now this is partly due to the larger handle design, and also the fact that the knife does have a bronze back spacer and pivot collar as well. So you're looking at around 6.04 ounces here. Now moving on to the knife itself, the handles are done in this beautiful muted bronze color with wavy accents on the top of the handle. Now the waves are not a continuous width. They start out large on both ends of the handle and get progressively finer throughout. This is mirrored on the other side as well. It's a very nice aesthetic touch, especially as the light catches in between the ridges. The material on the blade is Vanex 37, which is a stainless or a nitrogen version of Elmax, so you can expect similar edge retention to Elmax, slightly less than M390, but with much superior corrosion resistance. Vanex, being a nitrogen steel, is pretty much rust proof at that point. You can see the laser engraving of both makers' logos, Barker and Shirogorov. Now, as opposed to the standard Shirogorov laser engravings on the knives, these are deeply etched. Very well done. The finish on the knives is a very fine stonewash, something akin to the custom divisions, which has finer media used than the standard production knives. Moving on to the jimping of the knife, you can see here that the jimping on the top aligns with the jimping on the blade. This actually continues onto the handles as well. Very nice attention to detail. Again, here you can see the bronze pivot collars, which gives a nice pop of color, and the faux pivot screw on the show side of the knife. You can see the actual pivot screw is on the lock side, and this is actually indexed with a ball bearing. So if you were to take the knife apart, you wouldn't have to worry if there's Loctite, since this won't be spinning, which is quite different than what you see on the production Shirogorovs. You can see the lock bar insert is screwed in from the inside, and this knife in particular has a detent ramp, something that you don't find on most Shirogorovs. It also has an internal stop pin as well, which is markedly different. You would see on Sergei's own designs. Now the knife itself is also very heavily skeletonized to help reduce their weight, that you're probably gaining with the larger handles and the bronze back spacer, with a very nice milling pattern on the inside. The lockup is nice and early. Nothing unusual for a Shirogorov. And actually going back to the blade, you can see how fine the secondary grind is. Very fine secondary bevel. The flipper tab design is more of a push button type design than you would see on Sergei's own designs as well. Moving on back, you can see the jimping continued onto the back spacer, which runs off onto the handles. Very nice accent. You can also see that this clip, quite different than what you see on John Parker original design. I think Sergei did an excellent job here. It flows with the designs and the lines of the handles very well. One thing that I did notice is that the retention point on the clip is actually much longer than you see on Sergei's other designs. For example, here we can take a look at Neon, which has more of a single point. This does make the knife harder to take out of the pocket if you do decide to carry it. And moving back, you can see the back spacer and how it wraps around the blade. Very, very high tolerances here. And also the multifaceted smudging that thins the blade as it's closed inside the handle. Last thing of note is that this knife is using the newer Custom Division inverted screws for the standoff. Not standoff, the back spacer screw, which is blind screw. As you can see, only the faux pivot slot right here is the only exposed hardware on the show side. You can see something similar to this in the Neon. This one's made out of zirconium. Now, some people had some qualms about the flipping action of these things, and I would say that, even as a left-handed person, this thing flips out very, very strongly. Excellent job done on the design.